If you've seen my previous video, you'd know that I recently acquired a 1996 Gibson Flying V, and it's had a hard life. It's been used and abused, and it has the scars to prove it. So I think this guitar deserves a little bit of pampering. Today, we're going to modify it, and maybe more than modify it, we're going to upgrade it, because this guitar has some objective problems, some issues that are holding it back, some parts that just aren't working for it and need replacing. But we're not just going to replace them, we're upgrading. The guitar has already had multiple modifications made to it, so I'm really not worried about resale value. I just want this guitar to be the best it can be. I want it to sound good, and at the moment it doesn't really. So we're going to be fixing that today. So let's get started. So the first thing that we're going to do is fix this lack of shielding problem, because this is something that could have been done pretty easily, but just never was in the factory. The job was kind of not even half-assed, kind of quarter-assed, with this little bit of metallic shielding here on the backside of the pick guard, but nothing in the cavities. And what that allows is some electromagnetic interference, which is essentially just extra noise that we don't want in our guitar. So we're going to fix that problem now by shielding this cavity. Now there's a number of different options of what we can do. Essentially what we're trying to do is create a conductive metal box to shield the electronics within the guitar. So this is option number one. This is shielding paint. You'll see this in a lot of guitars because it's easy enough to do. It's this black metallic, it's conductive paint, and you'll see it in a lot of shielding cavities, but it is very messy. And well, it can, depending on the thickness of the coat, I'd probably do 2 coats of paint inside. With one, there's arguments to say that it's not as conductive, or it can be less of an effective shield. The other alternative is this. This is copper tape. So this one, it can take a little bit of extra time, but it's not as messy as the paint, and there's no question with the continuity of the conductivity of the shield. So I'm going to foil line this guitar cavity, and let's see how we get on. This might take a while. Well, that took considerably longer than I thought it would, but everything is down. You see, it might look a little bit messy, but it's going to be covered by the pick guard anyway. But I do think it looks kind of cooler than just black paint. Okay, I think we're done with the shielding of this guitar. Let's take a little look here. We've got the back of the pick guard. I've kind of gone overboard, but we definitely do have a full coverage over the cavity, and it contacts everything, so it's a full, or as close as we can get to a full Faraday cage when this is on together. I think it's time to introduce our pickups. So in the guitar were these 2 pickups. In the neck was this, I believe it was a Gibson 490R. I think it's the original pickup that was in the guitar. And then the previous owner changed out the bridge pickup with this. This is a DiMarzio Super 3. And I didn't like this pickup. It had this weird EQ thing that I just didn't like. And when I tried to dial it out, then the neck pickup would sound weird. So yeah, not a fan of what was going on. So I needed new pickups for this guitar. So I contacted the people over at BareKnuckle Pickups, and they were very friendly, and they sent these out specifically, so big thank you to BareKnuckle for that. And I ordered a set of nail bombs. I had played this type of pickup before, and memorable name, so I remembered them, I liked them, so I asked for a set of those. They have a huge amount of custom options. I was toying with the idea of going with some sort of crazy colour, but I was looking at the guitar that I had. I liked how it looked, I just didn't like how it sounded. So I was kind of worried about putting in brand new looking pickups, because I feel like that might have stood out too much. The guitar is very well used. So BareKnuckle offer these. Now if I can get that in the light there, you can see that it doesn't look brand new, which is a big thing for me, because I liked how, like, if we compare it to the 27-year-old pickup, I mean, it's practically identical, and I love that. But I also wanted, I liked the mismatch of what the previous owner did with the way that this DiMarzio looked, because it was like all black, even the pole pieces. So I ordered an all black from BareKnuckle. So it's a mismatch neck pickup and bridge pickup, and this is also aged, as you can see. So I think that's going to go really well. And to go with these pickups, these were sent out by BareKnuckle as well. These are their custom 550k BareKnuckle pots, as opposed to the regular 500k pots. The 550 just allow a little bit more of the pickup to shine through. And then we've got a big old capacitor. That's going to be good for our tone knob. So let's get wiring. There's one, and I do think it looks quite nice with the plastic, so I don't know. Let's get the other one in. Okay, second pickup's in, and I already know that I made the right decision with the aged pickups. I was a bit worried that they were going to be too aged and they'd look out of place, but at the same time I was worried that they'd look too new and be out of place. I think it's perfect. It looks classic. It fits the whole well-played vibe of this guitar, and I didn't want to change that. So yeah, I'm very happy already. Right, let's get soldering this stuff in. Hey Squeaky, what do you think? Should people watching the video like it right now and subscribe? Yeah? I think so too. Okay, so I've put the pots in. These are the BareKnuckle 550k pots. I have to pull up a wiring diagram. BareKnuckle have them on their website, so that's just what I'm looking at. And I'm just going to go for it. The first thing I'm going to do, and it's something that I never really did before, because it was never in any soldering guides, because technically you don't have to do it for a lot of stuff, but I feel that it's better safe than sorry. And that's doing what I'm doing here. I'm adding just a little bit of flux to what I'm going to tin. And the reason for that is flux gets rid of any oxidization on wires or metal surfaces in general when it's heated up. I find that once you do that, the solder just wicks up onto what you're trying to join. So I find that it works very well for me. I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to do the same thing on the pots because I know that I have to add. That's probably too much, but you can never do too much flux. Okay, and I know I added too much flux, but it's very simple just to wipe off the excess. And we've got a solid solder joint, which is exactly what we need here. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a capacitor. So this is for the tone knob. You only need it for the tone knob, but this is a massive upgrade. I know a lot of you guys don't use your tone knob, which I think you're missing out on big time. I might do a video just about why the tone knob's cool. But this is what we're upgrading from. So if you can see that little guy, and that's what we're going to. So you versus the capacitor she tells you not to worry about. Also make sure to use these in the correct orientation. So on these ones, the long leg is the hot and the short leg is the negative. So we're going to use the short leg as our ground and then this for the hot. So, you know, I used to think I was actually like very bad at soldering, and I'm still not like the best or the neatest or anything, but I used to think I just couldn't do it. But it was actually, my iron was just not hot enough. You need to have a hot iron, and also you need to use flux. That's very important. Okay, so now we're going to solder this. So my recommendations to anyone who's a bit worried or has tried soldering before and it just hasn't worked out is A, use flux. There's never too much flux. Always use flux. It will help you immensely. And B, get yourself an iron with a temperature that you can set and it can be hot, because that's a huge help. Okay. Alrighty. Right, that's everything wired up. I hope it works. I'm gonna go check. Hopefully it does. I'll see you in a second. Okay, so I just checked. I just plugged this in and tapped it with a screwdriver, and it all works, or seems to, and I'm very pleased, very happy, because I wasn't expecting it to work first time, because I'm doing it. But the last thing that we have to do is take the ground wire from the bridge and ground it to the ground of the pots.
We're gonna go right about there.
So far, the mods on this guitar we've done have been more for preference than anything else. Sure, foil lining the guitar, creating a Faraday cage and shielding it, that's an objective upgrade which will improve things for this guitar, but it doesn't need it to function. For the last 27 years it hasn't had that, and it's worked. It's just a little bit better now. Same thing with the pickups and electronics. It functioned with the old ones, but it just wasn't to my preference. I didn't like it personally, but it didn't need it to function. Now, these next couple of modifications we're going to make have to be done for this guitar to function. There's a couple of problems with the hardware on this guitar that have to be fixed for the playability and tuning stability and just overall function of the instrument to be where it needs to be. So let's start with the problem that I mentioned previously in the video about me buying this guitar, the bridge. The previous owner had the tailpiece decked to the bottom of the guitar and then the bridge, which meant that the angle that the string was on was very sharp, and after 27 years it collapsed this bridge. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you too well with this ruler because it's a clear ruler, but the bridge should be flat and the saddle should be curved. Now, if I put this straight ruler on there, I can actually get a pick in the middle there. The bridge has collapsed, which really isn't good because it means that the guitar will still function, but we have to raise the bridge much higher than it should be to work. Now, really the only option that we have for this is to replace it. The bridge is, for all intents and purposes, broken. We can get a replacement part. We could get a genuine Gibson Nashville bridge, but I said before at the start of this video, we're not just modifying this guitar, we're not just replacing parts, we're upgrading. So I got something to upgrade. This is our upgrade bridge. Compared to the Gibson ABR1, it's a little bit wider, and the big thing is it's got these brass roller saddles, so the strings won't get caught up. On the original saddles, they have to be cut and filed little grooves for the strings. With this, it's just got these rollers. There's no friction on it. The saddles are locking and the bridge itself is locking onto the posts on the body. Now, the only thing I don't really like is there is a lot of wiggle room. You kind of have to put it on, lock it in, then intonate, and if you take it off, you're kind of, will it be intonated again? This is one of those bridges that lock to the post, so I don't know, people claim that it makes a difference on tone. I'd say it's probably just more a requirement, because if this was sliding around, then the intonation would be completely gone. I just remembered something else that's a bit annoying about this bridge, is that once you lock it down, you can't adjust the height. So I have to unlock it, kind of guesstimate the height of where I need to set it, lock it down again, then fine tune again. This is a bit of a pain. Okay, so that's the bridge on, and it does retrospectively look a little bit like the Kirk Hammett bridge on his one, but that was by pure coincidence. This is just, you know, I wanted something with rollers, and I'm going to trial this. You know, I don't know yet. If it's a pain, I might change it just for something a little bit more similar to this, or maybe a shallower roller one. I don't know, but hopefully this works, because it wasn't very expensive. I think it was about €14, which really isn't a lot compared to like a Gibson part, which doesn't have the rollers. So yeah, I hope this works. Let's see. Now, the next problem I have is with the tuners. Now initially I kind of wanted to change the tuners just for visual effect. I didn't really love the Clusen vintage visual, but on further inspection I think I have to replace these tuners because they are past their best. So let's get a little bit closer and I'll show you what's going on. So these are the Gibson Clusen style Gibson Deluxe tuners. And they're the vintage style tuners. They're based off the stuff that would have been on a 1967 Flying V, but with that comes the vintage problems. So these can't really be adjusted once they get loose, and these tuners are very, very loose. Now in that casing is a gear, and when you turn it, you're turning the gear. That's fine, but these have become very, very loose. If I show you just how much that's wiggling, and I've tried to research how to fix that, how to tighten it, because this is affecting tuning stability, and it's on every single one. That one's completely, actually almost broken. Now supposedly there are some ways to fix this. One that I saw was kind of just hitting it with a hammer. I feel like it would be just a lot easier to replace these, and I could replace them with the same style, and that would be a vintage tuner, and I can replace them with the same style but locking, but I want to do something better. These are the D'Addario Auto Trim tuners. These are my 100% favorite tuners, hand on heart. I have a guitar with them already, so I contacted D'Addario and asked if they'd send these out for this video. They kindly agreed, so thank you to D'Addario for providing these, and I'm going to put these on to this guitar. Very excited for it. The reason that these are my favorite are... So this is a regular vintage tuner, and how it works is that there's a little gear in the back, and these ones are 15:1 ratio, so there's 15 cogs on the gear, and what you do is you stick a string in, like so, and then you just start turning and turning and turning. Look how many turns I have to do with my hand here to get just one wrap. And I have to get multiple wraps around this post to try and keep tuning, and even then it can slip a little bit and this goes out of tune. Now here's one of the tuners that I'm going to be putting on. These are the auto trim tuners, and they're locking. So the first thing I do is I unlock, and these have 18 gears in them as opposed to 15, so there's a little bit more accuracy. Now when I thread my string through, I then lock it and make sure it's tight, and now it's not going anywhere. I can pull on that as hard as I can. But there's one more thing that makes this cool. This is why they're my favorite. If I'm tuning up, a little bit of tension on them, watch this end piece. It's cut off. So now my string is fully tuned up, no wraps around the post, it's locked in, and it trims it for me. That's why they're my favorite. So let's get them on this guitar. Now a rather important note if you're replacing your tuners, especially vintage ones like these, is that there are two types of these. On this particular guitar, they came with this bushing, this kind of nut and washer bushing that goes onto them. And when I saw that, I knew that those would fit these new tuners, these 10mm tuners. There are other types of bushing for these types, which are 8mm tuners or the vintage tuners, which means that you would have to ream out the holes in the headstock, which is, I mean, it's a little bit scary if you don't know what you're doing. So I made sure that these were the 10mm, so I knew that these tuners would fit, and watch, we'll just pop them in. Perfect. I mean, tell me that that doesn't look good. I think not only have we upgraded it from a playing perspective, we've upgraded it visually. I love how that looks. I think that looks really good. Now, I've only hand tightened these because what we're going to do next is line them up with a straight edge, because these don't fit, I don't believe anyway, the original, or maybe, do you know what? Once they're lined up and tightened down, I think that we won't have to drill any more holes. I think the holes actually line up. So let's, just give it a go. It worked! Not having to drill holes was immensely satisfying. So everything's in there, it's all aligned. Everything is tightened up on the headstock. We're in! We've got ourselves a successful tuner install. I am so pleased. Okay, you know what? Let's get some strings on this. I'm just excited to play it now. I'm going to be putting on these D'Addario NYXL 1156 gauge strings. A little bit heavier for this guitar because it's a shorter scale than what I'm used to. This is 24 3/4 inch scale. I'm used to either 25.5 or even 27.5 inch scale. So we're going to need the heavy strings. We're tuning this to D standard, and then we're bringing this to the recording studio. We're recording an album right now. This is ending up on at least one song. It's probably going to end up on a few, but at least one. So let's get going. Right, let me show you these tuners in action. So they're unlocked. I thread the string all the way through. Just make sure it's lined up with the nut. I'll make sure my string's on the saddle. I lock it down, make sure that's locked tight, and then I just start tuning. Hold on to this piece because it's about to go. There we are. Done. Quickest restring ever. Oh my gosh, I love these. Now I know you haven't heard this guitar yet, just hold on, but there's one more modification that we have to make because we've put a lot of time, a lot of work, a lot of effort, a lot of money into this guitar, but at the end of the day it's still a Gibson, which means that the headstock is a lot more susceptible to breaking than maybe anything else. The headstock's angle here, it is severe, and that can lead to damage, and if that happens I'm gonna cry. So we're gonna have to take some preventative measures, and that comes in the form of two things: StrapLocks and a good strap. For this I'm going to be using somewhat of an industry standard, the Schaller S-Locks. All I have to do is unscrew the original strap button, and on the S-Locks they have a hex bolt as the screw, and the screw is built into the actual strap button. Very cool, interesting design. Screw that one in, and it's the same at the other end of the guitar. Now for the strap, I was contacted by a company in the UK who watched the channel called Pinegrove Leather. They had seen the original video and asked if I needed a strap for the V, and I really did. See, I've got a taller back than most, and regular straps on a large body guitar don't really fit me. I mean, here's what a strap looks like, a regular strap maxed out, and I can get the V down to kind of an acceptable level, but I wanted to go lower, and that's the max strap length. Now it is worth also pointing out that on a regular strap I do have a little bit of extra neck dive. I'd attribute this to the new tuners being a bit heavier. Now it's not as bad as an SG, but it's just a little bit annoying. So it's actually been a bit difficult to find a good quality long strap, and then this company reached out and so they reached out and asked if I needed a strap, and I ordered the extra long one, and here we are. Ooh. That's proper nice. So here's the strap at the proper length that I wanted. It goes lower than a regular strap, which is much better for me. And notice that the guitar is not diving. There's no neck dive with this strap because it's suede lined. It's not going anywhere even when I move, which is a great benefit. That's going to look lovely on this guitar. And because they watched the channel, they also asked if Glen needed a strap. And, I mean, Glen was super excited. He's going to get his tomorrow. Here it is. So we're here in the studio recording some of the Walker album. And we've got Glen's strap. He hasn't seen it yet, but you know it's fancy when it comes in its own bag.
Look at that. That looks great. Okay, let's give it a smell. Yeah, they do smell. It does. It do smell like new boots. That's cool. Look at that. It's a nice weight as well.
So a big thank you to Pinegrove Leather.
Thank you very much
for providing us with straps. Thank you.
That's going right on the lens full.
Okay, so it's a pretty simple assembly, and it's helped that I told Pinegrove that I was going to be using some strap locks on this, so they sized the hole on the strap specifically for my strap locks. These are the Schaller S-Locks, so I slide it on like that. The strap fits perfectly over it. And then I've got this locking washer that I'm going to tighten down. Well, we're done. The mods are finished and this guitar is back to where I think it always should have been. It plays great, it sounds great, and it's the guitar that I wanted, and I'm really happy about that. Because this guitar originally, it was in somewhat of a state of disrepair. It was used and abused, but now it's going to be played. It's going to be put to work for the rest of its days and doing what it was meant to do. I've already started. I took this to the studio just a few days ago to record on the new Walker album. We recorded 2 tracks with this, both rhythms and solos, and I actually have a few clips to show you from it. The first is a solo with this on the neck pickup, and then the next is an outro jam that me and Glen did, just improv'd on the bridge pickup. Is that it?
Seriously good.
Can I hear?
I like to play as you said anyway.
Something like that?
That's brilliant. It's like watching Skinner live in Redworth.
Can we hear it back just
It's great. It's really good.
And by the way, if you want to support the band on the new album, there are some CDs for sale. The link is in the description. But you haven't heard this guitar yet, so let's do a demo. Alright, let's start out simple with just a couple of clean tones. We'll start on the bridge pickup, then do the middle, then do the neck. So even though the pickups in this are the same model, both the neck and the bridge pickup are the BareKnuckle nail bomb, they are different pickups, because the neck pickup comes stock with the Alnico 5 magnet, but the bridge pickup you have the option of either an Alnico 5 or a ceramic magnet, and the ceramic magnet makes it a little bit hotter, a little bit brighter, and that's what we went for with this guitar that was recommended by Chris at BareKnuckle, so we went with that, and I'll just play you the same riff on both the bridge and the neck pickup, and you can hear the difference. I really love the neck pickup for leads. On its own, it sounds great. But I think if you roll down the tone knob just a little bit... Said it before, and I will say it again, the tone knob is so cool. You can just roll it down just a hair and get that Sykes 1987 Whitesnake type of sound. But also don't forget, everything maxed out just on the bridge pickup, it's heavy. Well, that's the video. I want to thank you for coming on the journey with me, taking this guitar to where it needed to be. It is a fantastic player, it sounds great, and I cannot wait to play this live. And also I want to give a huge thank you to the companies that supported me on this fixer-upper. We had BareKnuckle pickups for the electronics, we had D'Addario for the tuners, and we had Pine Grove leather for the wonderful strap. So a huge thank you to them, and all of those links are in the description as well. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you want to see this guitar on more stuff. It's going to be on a lot of different videos, and like the video as well if you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.